Alrighty, let's go over to our first main topic of today, and that's updating our NBA power rankings. We do this every Friday during the NFL season. This is number 5, I believe. Power rankings number 5 of the season. Coming into this week, we had the Knicks at 10, the Heat. Let's preface it with this. Originally, we had the Bucks at 6. Then we changed them on Monday or Tuesday. We got rid of them completely, knocked them off the list, knocked everybody up one peg. So we can make room for the Knicks. That was the team that we added midweek through, the Knicks at number 10. So coming into basically this week, we had the Knicks at 10, the Heat at 9, the Blazers at 8, the Nuggets at 7, the Nets at 6, the Suns at 5, the Kings at 4, the 76ers at 3, the Lakers at 2, and the Jazz at 1. We had the Kings at number 4 because we express laned them last week up into that number 5 spot where we switched them out with the Clippers straight up. So that's why the Kings are so high here. Alrighty, do we have a new number 1? You'll have to find out for that. But I can tell you we have 2 new teams. 2 teams are falling off. So we'll tell you the 2 teams that are falling off. So here we go. The first team that we are getting off is the Heat. It's unfortunate, but they haven't really been consistent so far. They're on this big road trip that they haven't been taking greatly. I think they've won 1 out of their 3 games so far on this road trip. It's just everybody else is not stepping it up or being consistent. I can't trust Tyler Hero. I can't trust Duncan Robinson. I can't trust Kendrick Nunn. I can't trust Bam Adebayo, and I can't trust Jimmy Butler a little bit. He's doing classic Jimmy Butler things out there, but Goran Dragic not being there, and Kelly Olynyk still in the starting lineup. I do not like that at all. So we are going to have to knock the Heat off for this week. Let's see what they can do from this Friday to next Friday to see if they can get back in this top 10, and they can. They have the talent to do so, but I need to see more consistent scoring, more consistent wins from this Heat team before they're back in the top 10. So Heat are now out of the top 10 here, and then the second team is obviously the Kings. I mean, they went 0-4 this week, folks. They lost against the Magic, the Grizzlies, the Nets, and the Heat. I mean, yeah, you should lose against the Nets, but you should at least beat the Heat, the Grizzlies, and the Magic. They didn't do that, so unfortunate for their Kings. Maybe their magic has run out, and unfortunately, they were in this nice little great stretch here, beating the top teams, being consistent, consistently competing, but this week they really floundered, so we do have to take the Kings out of the top 10 as well. Alrighty, so those are all the 2 teams out. Those are all the teams leaving, but we do have a lot of jumping around, so let's get to it. New number 10 team is going to be, and folks, I had a lot of trouble with filling in this number 10 team. I was going to do the Grizzlies, but they went 2-2 this week, and they lost against the Lakers and the Pelicans. Not bad losses there. I mean, these are teams I do want to kind of see you start beating a little bit now. And they only beat the Kings and the Thunder. It's not great wins, and it's kind of tougher losses there. So couldn't do the Grizzlies. Thought about doing the Pelicans, but once again, I mean, they lost against the Mavs and the Blazers and the Pistons. You gotta beat those teams, and yeah, you beat the Grizzlies and the Kings. It's just all right wins, nothing that we can really sink our teeth into. So we had to bypass the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. The Spurs, I mean, they haven't even played their last 3 games, so unfortunately that's why we couldn't put them in the top 10. So our new number 10 team is going to be the Golden State Warriors. What Steph Curry is doing is single-handedly leading his team to wins basically on a nightly basis. In this last week, they went 2 wins, 1 loss, beating the Cavs and the Heat, losing against the Nets. You're going to lose against the Nets. Most teams are going to lose against the Nets. So we're going to give the Warriors their chance here. This is their opportunity. Let's see what you do this week. See if you can stay on this top 10 or even advance a little bit up the ladder here. But Steph Curry's been great. Draymond Green, when he's playing, he's been solid. Andrew Wiggins, I cannot express how impressed I am of him this season, just being super, super consistent here. Honestly, of him being so consistent and Draymond Green a little bit in and out of the lineup just a tad, I think Andrew Wiggins is now the 2. He's now the 2 in this situation. Steph Curry's obviously the 1. He'll always be the 1. And Andrew Wiggins is now the 2. I can't really trust Kelly Oubre Jr. They're a little lackluster off their bench as well. But as long as we have Steph Curry, we see him, missing 15 threes, still getting it done, still being clutch from 3, still putting up 30-plus points. So Warriors at number 10. We're going to give him a shot here in the top 10 because Andrew Wiggins is impressing me a lot. And Steph Curry's been really kind of consistent this entire season. They had 2 wins, 1 loss. So that's enough for me to squeeze them in the top 10. Let's see how they work out here at number 10 this week. Alrighty, new number 9 team, and this is going to be the Knicks. We do move them up one spot here. Now, we do have to set them up with a warning here. We put them in the top 10 after their 3-game wins against the Wizards and the Hawks and the Rockets this week. From last Friday to this Friday, they've beaten the Wizards, Hawks, and the Rockets, and we put them in the top 10, I believe, after all those wins. And then as soon as we put them in the top 10, they go and lose to the Magic pretty damningly. Like, they only put up 89 points. Not great there. So we're going to give the Knicks a little bit of a pass here because we put them into the top 10 a little prematurely before we do this every Friday. So we're going to still give them the credit for those 3 wins, even though we put them in the top 10 after those wins came. But we're still going to give them a chance here. I love their starters, RJ Barrett and Julius Randle are absolutely killing it. And their bench, I love their bench. They kind of have a complete squad off their bench. Taj Gibson, D Rose, Emmanuel, Quickly, Obi Toppin. I mean, we've got a real solid bench there that everybody on that bench can put up 10 points whenever they want, honestly. So they've got a decent starting lineup, a better bench, a solid bench, a deep bench. So Knicks at number 9. They went 3-1 this last week. That's absolutely fantastic. Watch out for this Knicks team. Derrick Rose off the bench has really given this team a new life, and he's really kind of given them promise of making the playoffs in the East now. So watch out for this Knicks team. We're giving them the chance here at number 9. Let's see what they can do this week now that they are officially on this list. Alrighty, new number 8 team. Don't worry, Blazers are climbing up. Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. The new number 8 team is going to be the Clippers. We do have to give them a little bit of credit because in this last week, they went 3-1, beating the Bulls, the Heat, the Cavs, just losing to the Jazz. And that's an unfortunate loss, but, the Jazz are the best team in the league, so, we don't count it too much as a big loss. Clippers weren't in the top 10. Coming into this week, we see Kawhi Leonard and Paul George not playing every game, load management, taking turns, alternating who's playing and who's not. But the one thing that really has impressed me is that in some of these wins this week, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George both didn't play, and the starters all step up, and the bench players promoted to the starters all step up. Marcus Morris stepping up, absolutely huge. So this Clippers team, without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George winning games, that's a huge sign for me, but I definitely want to start seeing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George obviously start getting back, consistently playing in this lineup, not blowing leads in the fourth quarter, able to kind of close out games as well. So the Clippers at number 8 here, and this is going to be a tough week for them because they open up right here today. What do we say? Who do they got? The Jazz? The Jazz again, so this is going to be a huge game for the Clippers. We can take them out of the top 10 very quickly. If they lose this game, we probably don't take them out of the top 10 immediately, but it's going to be huge come next Friday, whether we move them up or down if they lose to the Jazz tonight. So, huge game tonight. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. We jumped them all the way up to number 8 so far because what they did this week without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, it was pretty dang impressive. So, we give the Clippers the number 8 spot. Alrighty, number 7, we are going to leave the Nuggets again. We have not moved this Nuggets team up or down in the last 3 weeks. They're staying at number 7. The last week, the Nuggets have, what do they got here? 2 wins, 2 losses, beating the Thunder and the Lakers. 1 good win, 1 mediocre win, and then they lose to the Celtics and the Wizards. Definitely should never lose to the Wizards, and losing to the Celtics is not something I want to see this Nuggets team do, honestly. We know Jamal Murray and Jokic are very, very clutch. Michael Porter Jr. is just so hit and miss, especially in the starting lineup. And the bench, it's good, it's kind of deep, but they haven't really shown anything consistent here. What's their official record? I mean, we're talking about an 8th seed at 15-13, 4-6 in their last 10. So they haven't really impressed me. They're always up and down. They get a good win and then a bad loss. So we have to keep the Nuggets at number 7. I don't know what to do with this team. They're just meh. They beat the Jazz, which is always great, and they always play the Jazz very good. And the Jazz are the best team in the league, but then they go and lose against the Wizards. Not great. So Nuggets at number 7. They stay here for another week. They'll probably permanently be at number 7. We should just call it the Nugget spot. We should just do this the top 9 and just skip over number 7. We'll do 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the rest of the season because I don't know what to do with this Nuggets team. They're just a little average here every single week. They're just average. 2-2, just basically 500. So Nuggets stay at number 7 for another week. Alrighty, new number 6 team, and this is where, it's going to start to get a little wild here. We're dropping a lot of teams. We're elevating a lot of teams. So here we go. New number 6 team is going to be the Lakers. And as you see right now, they were the number 2 seed coming into this week. So the loss of AD is obviously a huge factor of why we're dropping them down a little bit. Dennis Schroeder not playing last night obviously hurt them. That's why they lost against the Nets. In the last week, they've beaten the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. Good wins, or just solid wins there. Nothing great in the Grizzlies or the Timberwolves. Grizzlies are kind of, trending upward. So are the Timberwolves a little bit with Karl Anthony Towns back in the starting lineup. But then they lose against the Suns and then they lose against the Nuggets and the Nets. Kind of two, better teams. 2 teams in the top 10 here that they're losing against. So we know LeBron's fantastic. We know that. But nobody else is really starting to step it up here. And that's what we know about this Lakers team. Besides AD and LeBron, it's going to be a crapshoot every night of who steps up, whether it's Kuzma or Caruso or Schroeder or Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell needs to be in the starting lineup, honestly. If the Lakers want to keep their kind of place here in the top 10, you move Montrezl Harrell to the starting lineup here as long as Anthony Davis is out, and you got to rock with that lineup, that rotation of Montrezl Harrell as the 5, maybe even put him at the 4. Maybe that would work. I don't know, but I don't think so. But put him at the 5 and see what happens. Got to try and do something here now that Anthony Davis is out of the starting lineup. But the Lakers, this is going to be a tough week for them, officially without Anthony Davis, losing against the Nets last night. Bad looks here for this Lakers team, so we drop them down to number 6. Alrighty, new number 5 team and another big drop here. A little big drop. The 76ers at number 5. Alrighty, this last week has not been great to them. They beat the Rockets. Alright, this isn't a Rockets team we like right now. We do like the Rockets, just not the team that they're going with right now. And then they lose against the Suns and the Jazz. Once again, 2 big teams in our top 10 that they're losing against. Joel Embiid is, obviously fantastic, but, Danny Green not stepping it up is really costing his team a lot. We know we can always count on Joel Embiid. We know we can always count on Tobias Harris, and we can't even count on Seth Curry anymore. So Seth Curry and Danny Green really inconsistent. Danny Green a little bit more inconsistent than Seth Curry is, and Ben Simmons is fantastic as well. They're decently deep, but losing against the Suns and the Jazz, you got to start beating these teams. And, these are Western Conference teams that they're losing to, better Western Conference teams than they're losing to. So 76ers really need to start to get it together here. They are still number 1 in the East, which is good, but got to start beating some of these better Western teams too. Yeah, you can get to the finals by just beating the Eastern Conference teams, and the Eastern Conference teams are really lackluster here. Nets and the 76ers are really the only 2 great teams here. And, when you go to the West, you got the Jazz, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Blazers, the Suns, the Spurs. I mean, we're going, 6 teams deep here. All can really kind of make a run at the finals, where, the East, we really only have 2 contenders. So, yes, it's great that the 76ers are still the 1 seed in the East, but let's start beating some of the Western Conference teams too. Let's start beating them a little bit more consistently. So we do have to drop down the 76ers a little bit here at number 5. Alrighty, new number 14. Obviously, we told y'all the Kings are no longer in the top 10. And our new number 4 team, a huge jump for them, is the Blazers. Dame Dollar Bill. Yes, sir. They are on, I believe, a 6-game winning streak. So they are on a 4-game winning streak this week alone. They've beaten the Cavs, the Mavs, the Thunder, and the Celtics. Once again, just kind of good wins here. Mavs is a solid win. Thunder is a meh win. Celtics is once again a solid win as well. Damian Lillard going absolutely nuts every single game. Super clutch, game in, game out. You can always rely on Damian Lillard. So fantastic work there. No CJ McCollum, no Yusuf Nurkic, still getting the job done. And is Cantor stepping up his play? Derrick Jones Jr., I just saw him have a pretty good last 2 games, so let's give it up to him. And Carmelo off the bench, providing that extra spark, that veteran leadership, some clutch threes when they need them, and they all work. And Gary Trent Jr., I don't think I mentioned him either. He's really starting to step it up as well in replace of CJ McCollum. So they got a little bit less deep off the bench, but everybody's elevating their play in that starting lineup. I'm super impressed by this Blazers team. Damian Lillard not being a starter for that Western Conference is absolutely total disrespect. So we give them a little bit more respect here. Blazers at number 4. Love this team so freaking much. Alrighty, new number 3 team as is no longer the 76ers. And the new number 3 team is going to be the Suns. Very close to switching the Blazers and the Suns at 3 and 4 here. But we're going to give the Suns the 3 seed here. In the last week, they've beaten the 76ers and the Magic. 76ers, good win. Magic, meh win. And then they lose against the Nets in a game that it was a kind of a total meltdown in the fourth quarter. Devin Booker couldn't score, and they lose the game because of it, but they were leading all game. So we give the Suns a little bit of slack there of losing against the Nets, just of how well they've been playing kind of in this last kind of month of play. So the starting lineup is absolutely fantastic. We really don't like their bench at all. Nothing too great there, consistently great off the bench. But Chris Paul has everybody playing above what they're usually playing at. Devin Booker is still putting up hefty points, 25 plus. DeAndre Ayton is fantastic down low. So very well done to the Suns team. And I feel like I'm forgetting one person here on this Suns team that has impressed us this last week. I believe it's the 3. Who's the 3? All right, let me go to a Suns game here. Let me see. Who is the man I'm forgetting in this? Jay Crowder. I forgot about him. That's not who we were talking about, but I did forget about how well Jay Crowder has been playing for the Suns team as well. We got to shout him out and give him some credit here. Was it McCall Bridges? I don't think that's who I was thinking of. Maybe I wasn't even thinking of anybody. I may have been still thinking about, interesting. May have been thinking about Dylan Brooks from the Grizzlies. But either way, fantastic work here by the Suns, getting it done. Currently, where are they currently in the standings? 17-10, 8-2 in their last 10 games. Absolutely magnificent here. Like we said, just lost against the Nets, just kind of closely, a blown fourth quarter lead, unfortunately. And that's not something that we are going to kind of, turn our head weights towards. We're still going to count that as a loss and as a little bit of a bad loss, but that's the first time we've seen it happen. So we give them a little bit of a break. Now, if we see it start to happen over and over again, them blowing fourth quarter leads like we just saw the Clippers last year in the bubble, in the playoffs, even worse, then we'll start to take that note and start moving them down, but we're not going to penalize them too much for that Nets loss. Chris Paul is playing absolutely fantastic, probably the best seasons he's ever had. DeAndre Ayton is making such a big impact. Devin Booker's carrying over last year in the bubble, going 8-0 in their freaking play-in games. And then Jay Crowder, a solid beef down low, helping out DeAndre Ayton and just being that kind of veteran leader, helping out Chris Paul down there. So love the Suns team, number 3. Yes, sir. Alrighty, new number 2 team is going to be the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, sir. I mean, folks, they're winning games. Kevin Durant's not playing, they're winning. Kyrie Irving's not playing, they're winning games. James Harden is getting it done single-handedly. He is the best Nets player that there is. He's the best out of the big 3, and he's the best on the squad. So Nets getting it done. They're winning. The whole narrative probably 2 weeks ago was they don't play defense. That's really kind of been, thrown out the window ever since that really started to come out there. They're winning games in the last week. They went 4-0, beating the Warriors, Kings, Suns, Lakers. I mean, damn. Suns and Lakers, absolutely great wins. Warriors is still an impressive win. And the Kings, at the time, still a decent win. They were kind of starting their downturn when the Nets beat them, but still a solid win there. So 4-0. What are they in their last 10? 6-4 in their last 10. They are starting to kind of get it figured out in their last kind of week of games this week. So big into this Nets team. Like Kyrie Irving said, all they needed to do was kind of turn the corner, win that first game, and the floodgates will open after that. And they're so super deep. Even after the big 3, DeAndre Jordan's not even in the starting lineup, and they're still winning games. Joe Harris is picking up. Whoever's out, he's going to pick up the production load. Kevin Durant, who's going to put up 30 points. Joe Harris can do that. Kyrie Irving is out, who's going to put up 25 points. Joe Harris can go and make up those points if he needs to. So they're deep. They've got the shooters. They've got the facilitators. They've got the defense. They really have a complete team. The worst thing about this Nets team is their coaching staff. Steve Nash and freaking, I still can't believe the man's got a job. Mike D'Antoni. He hasn't been a part of a winning organization. Yeah, they come on some spurts on where, they can make it to like the second round of the playoffs, but then they always flounder and lose those playoff games. So not a great coaching staff, but they got the talent, definitely offensively. So Nets at number 2, beating the Lakers last night without Kevin Durant, pretty good. Even though the Lakers didn't have Schroeder and AD, we're still going to count it as a decent win, because if you dethrone the King, you dethrone the king. That's pretty damn good. So Nets at number 2, and then the Jazz are going to stay as our number 1 seed. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. What more do we need to say? All right, 6th man of the year. What more do we need to say? I think we're good there. I think we're good there. So this Jazz team is absolutely fantastic. Best team in the league right now. Currently in their last 10. Are they 9-1? They are 9-1 in their last 10. A 9-game winning streak. 24 wins, 5 losses. Can they rival the Warriors record? What was their record? 73-9. 73-9. 73-9. Can they Jazz rival that record? No, because they're not playing 82 games this season, but unfortunate. But yeah, the Jazz are just super freaking good. Joe Ingles is picking up the slack without Mike Conley. Mike Conley doesn't even need to be on the floor. He hasn't played in like the last 2 weeks, and they're still winning games without him. He's absolutely magnificent. They're deep without him. And it's just Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert can guard all the bigs besides the three-point shooting bigs, and that's where they really kind of flounder a little bit against kind of the Nuggets and the Lakers a little bit. But they've been beating the Lakers this season, haven't been beating the Nuggets. But very well done in this Jazz team, retaining their spot at number 1. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, baby. That's all you need. That's all you need. Alrighty, so that's our power rankings going into next week. Let's recap here. Warriors at 10, Knicks at 9, Clippers at 8, Nuggets at 7, Lakers at 6, 76ers at 5, Blazers at 4, Suns at 3, Nets at 2, and Jazz still at number 1. Let's quickly, if we have to give kind of an outside looking in team, it would definitely be the Spurs, but they haven't been playing, because, that COVID outbreak. So they've been, postponing their last couple games. So I definitely want to get the Spurs in this top 10, but I mean, if you're not going to be playing, for a week, we're not going to keep you in the top 10 because you're not proving us anything. You get other teams showing what they're doing better than you. So unfortunate for the Spurs. Grizzlies, I do kind of want to, I'm trying to put them in the top 10 as well, give them a solid week to show us what they got. Pelicans are definitely kind of outside looking in as well. They just need to have a better week. If they're always kind of 2-2 or 1-3. They're never 3-1 in a week span. So if they can get to 3-1, maybe 3-0, 4-0, I can try to make some room here in the top 10. So, Spurs, Pelicans, Grizzlies, that's probably my outside looking in. Kings have really fallen off hard here, so they're not that. Anybody else? Bucks? No, we're over the Bucks. Pacers got to start beating some of the better teams, and the Celtics need to start being a little bit more consistent. Once they get the better big, then we can start buying into them. The Raptors, as we said, if they can start impressing us maybe another full week, we can start buying them. So a couple teams here have a chance to get back in the top 10 here, or in the top 10, for the first time this season, but have to start to see maybe a better week show than we've been seeing so far.